So I think we're going to transition back to Steve to talk about characteristics of highly capable students.
It's such a joy to work with highly capable students, and I just wanted to share a really brief story as I put up the next slide, talking about characteristics of highly capable students. A couple weeks ago, I had a group of third grade students set up an appointment to come meet with me, and they said, "Mr. Hopkins, we are fed up with global warming. We need to do something now." And I thought it was just a really great representation of a eager beaver, a highly capable student who wanted to do something. And it was just a wonderful meeting. They shared all the research they had done, everything they had learned. You see in that bullet there, intense concentration or focus, and they wanted to do something now. And they had dug deep, they had done the research, they were giving me statistics, they were sharing facts, they were proposing solutions. They had all sorts of great ideas, and it was a wonderful meeting and an opportunity for me to talk to them and give them a little direction and actually have them partner with our green team at our school, and they are off and running with that. But I thought that was just a really nice illustration of just the awesomeness of highly capable students and just how they are so thirsty to learn and so excited, and it's our job as educators to feed that and to nurture that and to recognize that potential and help them take off and go with that. We're going to show a video now, right? And this is from Duke University and just talks a little bit about the social emotional aspects. And before Jen gets that queued up, I just want to say that in our EAP classrooms and our classrooms where we're serving highly capable students, social emotional support is critical, and we recognize that that's a big part of this. We know that they're often academically inclined, and oftentimes they need support with things like dealing with adversity or working together with a team, reaching agreement. So those are all really important skills that our teachers are helping our highly capable students develop. They do that in a variety of ways. Class meetings, we have social emotional learning curriculum, just a variety of ways, but we really understand that in addition to just the academic rigor, that we really want them to be successful socially. At Sunrise, we have an ongoing commitment, and I know this is true at the other schools that house EAP classrooms, that we don't want it to be two schools, an EAP school and then Sunrise. But we are very intentional about making sure that the students in our neighborhood classrooms and our EAP classrooms have many opportunities to interact, have lunches together, do art projects together, participate in some content areas together, science, social studies, do projects. And so I know I can speak for every principal that welcomes a highly capable student into their school, that it is our pledge to make sure that they feel safe, they feel included, and really set up to thrive. So we just recognize that the social emotional piece is huge.
Welcome to Social and Emotional Characteristics of Gifted Students. Smooth sailing, rough seas. Whether you work with gifted students or are the parent of one, it's helpful to know their characteristics. If you are an educator of gifted students, you will want to keep these traits at the center of your planning, instruction, and assessment for an optimal teaching and learning experience. This presentation addresses the social and emotional characteristics of gifted students. By social characteristics, we mean those traits related to interpersonal awareness, the ability to read social situations, recognize body language and facial expressions, and interpret the emotions of others. This awareness is observable in peer interactions, in participation in organizations, and in assuming leadership roles. By emotional characteristics, we're referring to traits associated with intrapersonal awareness, the capacity to recognize one's own emotions, motivations, and needs. This awareness is observable in an individual's level of academic self-esteem, motivation to continue learning in areas of talent, or perseverance in that talent domain. As you learn about various characteristics, it's important to keep in mind that gifted students are not categorically different from typically developing children. Everyone possesses a degree of these social and emotional characteristics. Gifted individuals, however, are generally better at perceiving and expressing their own emotions and those of others. Linda Silverman, a psychologist who has studied the counseling needs of gifted students extensively, writes, "The gifted are too everything, too sensitive, too intense, too driven, too honest, too idealistic, too moral, too perfectionistic, too much for other people." These social and emotional characteristics may be positive and lead to smooth sailing, empathy, sensitivity, compassion. By contrast, the same attribute may lead to conflict, withdrawal, or aggression, rough seas that need to be navigated with care based on our knowledge of these students and what we can expect of them. There are a number of characteristics related to gifted students' social and emotional development. Every characteristic has the potential for smooth sailing or rough seas. Gifted children and youth are emotive. They feel at a higher level of intensity than the norm. The highs are higher and the lows are lower. This depth of feeling promotes artistic expression, communication, and understanding. They also manifest a level of self-awareness that is typical for much older children, and their perception of self and others is more positive than that of the average person. Rough seas can arise when content or activities trigger stronger than expected emotional responses. Students on this emotional roller coaster can surprise or shock others with the intensity of their reactions. It's important to note that across a lifespan, the gifted manifest better emotional adjustment than the typical individual. Gifted individuals are also energetic. They have a passionate enthusiasm that enables them to concentrate intensely for long periods of time. At an early age, parents often find these children need or want very little sleep. These students also demonstrate rapid and almost compulsive verbalization. Rough seas can emerge when prolonged exertion of energy leads to crashing or even burnout. Adults and peers without the same level of energy may be annoyed or struggle to keep up. Gifted youth are humorous. Their verbal dexterity, quickness and sophistication of thought, and ability to make connections may express itself through humor such as puns, irony, one-liners, and double entendres. This humor is often a ticket to peer group acceptance. Rough seas happen when others don't get the jokes, and as a consequence, the student is ostracized. Sometimes students will use humor as a weapon or as a tool to dominate a classroom or social situation. The gifted are often more idealistic than their age mates. They have a strong sense of justice and are quick to point out perceived injustices and inconsistent application of rules. They tend to be more altruistic, making choices on the basis of principle, like the greater good. This idealism can lead to anxiety when they recognize the disconnect between the real and the ideal. and these students can worry excessively about real-world manifestations of this disconnect. For example, a gifted student may struggle with the coexistence of hunger in one part of the world and a surplus of food elsewhere. Students can also become disillusioned or even angry with others who don't hold the same ideals. In addition, students can inappropriately challenge authority or the rules over issues of fairness. Gifted students are more self-accepting than their peers. They are more positive in their attitude about themselves and also in their perception of relationships with others. They are comfortable in their own skins. They may demonstrate lower levels of anxiety and seem set apart with a sense of security and understanding of who they are. They may be less likely to adapt themselves to prevailing trends and attitudes. Others may prefer them as companions, appreciating the sense of security these students have about themselves. Rough seas can occur when peers or adults perceive this self-confidence as arrogance. They may also question these students' ability to fit in or reject them for being so sure of themselves. Gifted students are inclined to be independent. Nonconformists, they march to the beat of their own drummers. They enjoy carving their own path, finding their own direction. Intrinsically motivated, they persevere in their efforts because they have such a strong sense of purpose and awareness of their interests. Such students may assume a high level of personal responsibility, attributing any success to hard work rather than to luck. This same independence can resist direction, reject extrinsic motivation, and ignore others' input. To others, an independent student may seem overly competitive in efforts to achieve. Independence relates to another distinct attribute of gifted individuals, a specific form of motivation that Joseph Renzulli characterizes as task commitment. Task commitment manifests as perseverance, endurance, hard work, dedicated practice, self-confidence, and a belief in one's own ability to get the job done. In Renzulli's three-ring conceptualization of giftedness, task commitment, along with significantly above-average ability and creativity, is essential to gifted performance. Most gifted children are sensitive in both the emotional and physical domains. They are insightful, perceptive, and compassionate. They are able to read people and social situations, recognize body language and facial expressions, and interpret the emotions of others. On the other hand, these same students may be overcome by emotions for others. They may also have strong reactions to criticism or subject themselves to harsh self-criticism. Likewise, gifted youth may also be highly sensitive to physical stimuli, light, sound, textures, tastes, and smells. Quite often, several of the characteristics we've discussed so far combine to make gifted children influential. They can motivate others to support an idea. Their excellent communication skills, stage presence, and ability to understand the big picture can inspire those around them. Their ability to perceive others' needs and motivations make them effective leaders and facilitators. However, rough seas can occur when these individuals are perceived as bossy or domineering. Some students may also try to control rather than compromise, misusing their influence selfishly. As you've seen from these social and emotional characteristics, gifted students are quite diverse. This list is neither an exhaustive one nor a checklist. Not all gifted students will exhibit all of these characteristics to the same degree. Take another look at these characteristics. With these characteristics in mind, consider these questions. Which characteristics do you find in yourself? Which ones have created smooth sailing and rough seas for you? If you are an instructor, do you find yourself teaching to certain characteristics? Which of these characteristics have you observed in students in the past? How have you responded to them? Take some time to reflect on these characteristics. When you return to your lesson design, your classroom, your students, or your child, what will you do differently to ensure the smoothest sailing possible?